Have you ever felt homesick for a life you've never lived? It hits you in strange moments. A certain streetlight at dusk, a song from a decade you never belonged to, a photograph of a coastline you've never touched, and yet your chest tightens as if you left your heart there by mistake. It's not sadness exactly, not joy. It's that aching in between, a pull, a whisper in your ribs saying, there is more, and you don't know why it hurts. If that feeling visits you often, you're not broken. You're being called. Carl Jung had a name for this, the unlived life. He believed that deep inside you, there's a map, one not drawn by your job title, your to-do list, your family's expectations, or the clever mask you wear to get through the day. The map belongs to something vaster, older, wiser, the self. And sometimes, when you go too far from that map, the self doesn't shout. It tugs. It sends an ache that feels like homesickness for a place you have never been. Let's slow down and sit with that ache. When does it arrive for you? Maybe you're washing dishes and thinking of architecture school you never went to. Maybe you catch yourself scrolling through strangers who paint, who dance, who build cabins with their hands, and you tell yourself it's nothing. But your breath changes. Your skin prickles. That's not envy alone. It's a compass under your ribs waking up. Jung would say, the psyche is trying to complete itself, and anything you refuse out of fear, timing, duty, or convenience doesn't disappear. It waits underground. It finds symbols. It appears in dreams. It makes your heart ache when the light hits a certain way. The unlived doesn't die. It waits at the edge of your life, tapping the window with a single finger. So what exactly is this unlived life? The simplest way to see it is this. It's the part of you you did not grant permission to exist. The writer who never wrote, the pilgrim who never walked, the parent you might have become, the lover you refused to be. Sometimes it's not dramatic. Sometimes it's a gentler pattern. You always wanted to host, to cook, to care, to learn languages, to move your body like water, and you filed it under not practical, not me, not now. Jung's language for this is rich. He spoke of archetypes, of the child, the creator, the lover, the wise one, the trickster, the wanderer. These aren't rigid labels. Think of them as deep currents. When one of those currents flows through you and you dam it up, the water doesn't vanish. It pools into dreams. It floods into sudden longings. It corrodes the banks of your daily routine until you wonder why the ground won't hold. There's another piece. The shadow. Jung said the shadow holds everything you push away. We usually think of the shadow as our anger, jealousy, selfishness. But he also taught about the golden shadow, the abilities and destinies you admire in others because you banish them in yourself. When you're homesick for a life you never lived, that golden light might be yours, shining from far away because you threw it over the fence. Here's the good news. Our longing is not punishment, it's direction. In Jung's view, the psyche is teleological. It aims toward wholeness. Your ache is an arrow. The world tells you to numb it, to silence it, to be practical and keep busy. Jung would suggest the opposite. Pay attention, not recklessly, not by blowing up your life overnight, but by listening, by learning the language of your own depths. Let's make this practical. Start small and start symbolically. When the longing rises, don't scroll it away. Name it out loud. I feel homesick for the life where I live near trees. I feel homesick for the life where I create with my hands. I feel homesick for the life where I am honest about love. Saying it gives the ache a border. The formless becomes form. Now imagine your day as a room with a single locked door labeled "Not Today." Behind it lives the thing you crave. Your task isn't to knock the wall down, it's to find the keyhole and slide a letter through. Jung called this the symbolic act. Instead of burning your career to chase music, You spend 20 minutes a day touching the piano. Instead of buying a farm, you grow herbs in the window. Instead of demanding a new relationship, you speak truth to the mirror. Symbols are how the unconscious learns that you're listening, and when it learns, it calms. You might ask, but what if my ache is about love, or place, or faith? It feels too big. Jung would nod. The unlived often feels enormous because it carries centuries of ancestors who also didn't live it. He'd ask you to begin with the smallest hole you can complete. Not the perfect novel, but one page. Not the holy pilgrimage, but a 10-minute walk without headphones. Not the perfect confession, but an honest sentence. And then there are dreams. If your longing is a letter from the self, dreams are the handwriting. Keep a notebook by your bed for the next 7 nights. When you wake, even at 3 a.m., jot down fragments. A staircase that never ends. A house with rooms you didn't know. An animal you fear, but it's tender. Jung loved house dreams. They often show the structure of your psyche. New rooms are unlived areas asking to be explored. Snakes can be transformation. Oceans can be the collective, asking you to swim. When a dream repeats, or when a symbol returns in waking life, an image, a word, a song, try dialoguing with it. This is active imagination, one of Jung's most beautiful practices. Close your eyes. See the image clearly. Speak to it. Ask, "What do you want from me?" And then, patiently, answer as the image. Let the voice of the staircase or the shoreline talk back. It sounds strange until you try it. You will be surprised how quickly the conversation becomes tender, truthful, specific. There's another visitor in this story, the anima, if you identify as masculine, or the animus, if feminine, Jung's names for the inner other. This figure often carries the bridge to the unlived life. It appears as a mysterious stranger in dreams, a guide, a critic, a lover, a teacher. If you keep meeting a particular inner figure, say a quiet woman by a lake, or a laughing traveler with a pack, don't dismiss them as random. Ask what they know about the life you long for. Often, their advice is less grand than you expect, and more exact. Buy a notebook with thick paper. Call your brother. Go to the river at dawn. You might worry, what if following the longing breaks something? Jung would tell you that ignoring it may already be breaking you in slow motion. The persona, your well-behaved mask, keeps you safe in the world, but if it becomes your whole face, it suffocates the self. The result is that flat, grey exhaustion you can't fix with sleep. That's the everyday cost of the unlived life. It's the bill for pretending. Of course, we have responsibilities. Bills, children, promises. Jung wasn't asking you to abandon them, he was asking you to become whole. To bring a measure of soul back into a life that has gone too thin. He believed that a symbolic, honest act done consistently changes you from the center outward. You become less brittle, less envious, less easily swayed by noise. You are anchored to your own myth. So here's a gentle structure. For 1 week, give 15 minutes a day to the unlived. Treat it as sacred, not negotiable. No phone, no audience. Pick the most honest small step. Sketch, sing, write, plant, walk, pray. Learn 3 words in a language your heart remembers. After each session, write a single sentence. Today I fed my longing by. Watch what happens to your mood in the other 23 hours and 45 minutes. Notice if the ache softens into warmth. If you're thinking, what if my unlived life is in conflict with my current one? Jung would advise discernment. The self usually doesn't ask for explosions. It asks for integration. Are there pieces of that life you can host in this one? Maybe the country you miss is actually a pace, not a place. Maybe the love you seek begins with how you speak to your own fear. Sometimes we discover that the unlived life isn't a new home. It's deeper roots in the one you have. There's also the matter of time. Some longings ripen quickly, others take years. Jung trusted the slow work. If you commit to the symbolic, the literal follows when it's ready. Synchronicities, those meaningful coincidences, begin to appear like stepping stones in a river. You think of learning pottery, and that week a neighbor gives away a wheel. You consider changing cities, and a job posting arrives with the very skyline you dreamed. Coincidence? Perhaps. But Jung would smile and tell you that when the inner life and the outer world move in step, life becomes choreographed, even if we can't see the choreographer. Let's also talk about fear. The unlived life is guarded by dragons, voices that say you're too late, too old, too busy, too ordinary. Here's a secret. Those dragons are often bored. They've rehearsed the same lines for years. If you give them a job, protect this 15 minutes, keep distractions away, they often calm down. The psyche likes roles. Give your fear a purpose that serves your longing, and it will become a sentinel instead of a saboteur. What about relationships? The unlived life also appears in who you choose and how you love. If you repeatedly fall for people who cannot meet you, that's a clue. The figure you're chasing may live inside you, your anima or animus asking to be known, not projected. When we withdraw a projection and love the inner figure consciously, our taste in partners quietly changes. We stop asking other people to carry our unfinished song. And if your longing is spiritual, if you hold a question like, "What is my place in the great pattern?" Jung would not hand you a doctrine. He would hand you symbols. He would tell you to draw your dreams, to light a candle at sunrise, to sit under the oldest tree near your home and ask a question with your whole body. He would remind you that meaning isn't found like a coin. It's made like bread, slowly, with your hands in the dough. Halfway through this conversation, let me ask you something. What part of your unlived life is calling the loudest right now? Drop just a few words in the comments. No essays, just a signal to yourself. And if this is helping you name that ache, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next step in your inner work. We build this space slowly, together. Now let's go deeper into practice. Create a map of the unlived life with 3 circles. Label them seed, sapling, and forest. In seed, place the smallest acts you can do this week: a sketch, a page, a walk, a lesson. In sapling, write the projects for the next season: a course, a trip, a studio corner, a conversation you need. In forest, let yourself dream about the structural changes that might take years. A shift in work, a move, a different rhythm. This map turns ache into architecture. It gives your longing a path. Guard this map with boundaries. The persona loves to volunteer your minutes to everyone. The unlived life needs a door you close. Tell one person you trust what you're doing and ask them to protect that door with you. Then tell the rest of the world, silently, that these minutes are not for sale. You will be amazed how sacred a quarter hour becomes when you treat it as a vow. Another practice. The altar of the unlived. Find a shelf, a box, a corner. Place one object that symbolizes the life you miss. A pine cone for the forest, a pen for the novel, a ticket stub for the cities you crave. Each day, touch it. Not as superstition, but as relationship. The unconscious speaks in images. Let it know that you speak that language too. And keep an eye on resistance. It will arrive in friendly costumes. It will call itself fatigue, obligation, tidying, even research. Smile at it. Then ask, what are you protecting? Often, resistance is trying to keep you safe from disappointment. Thank it. Then ask it to step aside for 15 minutes. If it won't, negotiate. 5 minutes, then we rest. You can't wrestle the psyche into joy. You invite it gently, and it comes. One more subtle trap. Perfection. If the first attempts at this unlived life must be flawless, you will never begin. Jung would urge you to befriend the beginner. He knew that the self is not impressed by polish. It's moved by sincerity. When you show up without spectacle, the center of you notices. That's what relieves the ache. Not applause, not metrics, not external proof. The relief comes from keeping your appointment with yourself. If you wonder how to tell true longing from escapism, here's a compass point. Escapism leaves you more numb. True longing, when fed even a little, leaves you warmer, more present, kinder to others. Escapism narrows your life. True longing, paradoxically, makes your existing life more spacious, even before any big change occurs. Pay attention to the quality of your attention after you touch the unlived. Does it expand? Or does it shrink? Jung also warned that the unlived life, left too long in the dark, can turn against us, arriving as sudden sabotage, restless chaos, or relationships chosen for the drama they bring. That's the shadow trying to get a meeting with you by any means necessary. You can intercept it with honesty. I see you. I know I've kept you waiting. Sit here. Let's begin. The moment you choose to speak with your shadow instead of pretending it doesn't exist, the tone changes from attack to negotiation. Curiously, many people discover that their unlived life is less exotic than they imagined. It's not always Paris, not always a grand stage. Sometimes it's morning light, hands in dough, a slower conversation with a child, a weekly circle that speaks your language. The soul is surprisingly local. It wants you where you are, fully. The fantasy can be a bright billboard. The reality is usually a garden that needs tending. Both can be beautiful, but only one feeds you daily. As you continue, expect grief. You will meet the versions of yourself that didn't get to exist. You will meet the seasons you can't get back. Grieve them with respect. Jung didn't ask us to skip sorrow, he asked us to metabolize it. Grief, too, is a bridge. On the other side is a gentler ache, the kind that guides rather than torments. And expect joy, quiet and real. It might arrive while you're washing a single paintbrush, or while you're reading the first page out loud to an empty room, or when you plant a seed, and later, weeks later, a green thread breaks the soil like a small miracle. Joy like that doesn't shout. It hums. It says, "You came home for a minute, didn't you?" If you keep going, you may notice something odd. The world becomes more specific. Colors sharpen. Coincidences increase. The right person calls at the right time. You see the book you need on a bus seat. This is not magic in the childish sense. It's alignment. When your inner compass points somewhere true and you start walking, the landscape answers. Not because it's obligated, but because the self loves company when it travels. And when doubt returns, and it will, remember the rule of the smallest whole. Finish one small thing each day in the direction of your longing. A paragraph, a chord progression, a letter, a prayer. That's how roads are built in the psyche, brick by brick. You don't bulldoze the forest. You lay a path through it. Before we close, return to the first image that stirs your ache. The streetlight at dusk. The coastline you've never seen. The sound of rain on a cabin roof. Let yourself feel it fully, without trying to fix it. Then ask a simple question. What is the next smallest true act I can do to honor you? Listen for an answer that is humble, clear, and possible today. Commit to it. Put it on your calendar as if it were a meeting with someone you respect, because it is. Jung believed that a person whose life is aligned with the self is a blessing to the world. Not because they are loudly successful, but because they are congruent. Their yes is a yes. Their no is a no. They don't need to steal energy from others because they are plugged into their own source. That is what your unlived life is offering. Not a fantasy escape, but a reconnection with the current that makes your eyes bright again. You may still feel homesick sometimes. That's okay. Homesickness can be a compass you carry, not a wound you nurse. Each time it rises, bow to it, then take your next small step. Over time, the ache becomes a path, and the path becomes a home, one you are building in plain daylight, one gesture at a time. So tonight, before you sleep, place a notebook by your bed. Tell your dreams you're ready. In the morning, write what you can remember, even if it's only a color. Then light a candle, touch the object on your altar, and give 15 minutes to the life that's been waiting. Not tomorrow. Today, in a small, human way. The center of you will feel it. The ache will change. And a quiet voice will say, "Welcome back."